Alright, and before we get going, just double check to make sure we all had a chance to watch that safety briefing video, right?
Yes.
Awesome. And those microphones are active right now. Once we take off, I'll be a little busy talking with the tower, so turn them off for a few minutes, then once we're out of the airspace, I'll turn them back on, then start talking you through the tour then, okay? And just double checking our seatbelts, make sure we're all still good. This should be low and tight. Everyone's pretty good. Alright, we all set? Sweet, let's pull up, go have some fun.
Well, the day when they said that the warriors would live forever, no, they have gone. Only living in the legends now. You can hear the spirits crying in the wind. Lost without a trace at all.
Alright, here we go.
Where did all the people go? I wish I knew what happened there. Who and who were famous men? Tell me what the chances are.
Alright, we're still working our way out of the airspace. We're passing the Willy Willy Harbor here on our right hand side. This is our only deep water harbor we have on the island. That's where all of our goods are shipped in with the big cargo ships, and also a couple of cruise ships in a few times a week. And we also have the Hulea River on our right next to the bigger Menehune fish pond. And as we're making our way across the island here today, might be a few bumps here and there with the wind, especially over some of the ridge lines. That is completely normal and nothing to worry about if we do feel any of those bumps, but it's been a pretty smooth ride here so far this morning. Alright, those microphones are now active again, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And if you want to talk to each other, that's fine as well. And just on our left-hand side here through the gap is Kauai Beach. In this area to our right-hand side, this is the Kipu Ranch, also known as the Rice Ranch. Most has this cattle grazing area down there. And if you see Kauai beef on the menu, it just means it's all grass-fed here on the island. Nothing is grain-fed. And you also know all the cows here in Hawaii, they don't say moo, they actually say cowabunga. And off to our left-hand side is the south shore of the island. That's Poipu and the resort area directly off to our left near the shoreline there. And has anybody seen any sea turtles since they've been here yet? Not yet?
We just got here yesterday.
Very nice. So if you do want to see some turtles, one of the best spots here is right on Poipu Beach, right around sunset. It's the best time to see them. It kind of varies how many show up. The last time I was there was between 20 and 30 of them. That's one of the best spots to see those, and also a good chance of seeing some monk seals there as well. And this bigger body of water to our left-hand side that's the Waita Reservoir. That was used to irrigate the sugarcane fields back when they still had production here on the island. Hasn't been any production here in about 20 years due to the high operating costs, but that used to be one of Kauai's main exports was sugar. And just in front of us is Tree Tunnel Road. That's where the eucalyptus trees kind of encase the road on the drive from the main highway on our right to Okoloa Town off to our left-hand side. And all these big patches of trees, all these tree farms here are eucalyptus trees. That's part of the energy production here on the island. So this big tan building to our right-hand side is the power plant. So they burn those trees in that plant, that heats the water, and that drives one of the big steam turbines that provides about 10% of the island's electricity here. Another big role in our energy is the big solar farm off to our left-hand side, and we also have a hydroelectric dam in Port Allen. So the big push is to get to 100% renewable energy here on the island by the year 2033, and we're well on our way. And how's everyone doing so far? So good?
How will you power the helicopter?
That's all jet A fuel, so no electricity there. So far, but they're working on a electric VTOL type of helicopter actually. As far as the protest will come out next year, I think, so who knows, by 2030s we might have some electric helicopters. And off to our left-hand side, this is the little town of Kalaheo. And if you look past Kalaheo all the way to the ocean, that's all those green fields, those are all coffee trees. That's the Kauai Coffee Company plantation. There's about 4 million trees there, covering about 3,100 acres of land. So that's the biggest plantation for coffee, not only on the island, but also in the U.S. It also has a visitor center. You can try all different kinds of coffee there.
One certain brand or different?
It's all one big branch. There's different types of beans there. So they have all different kinds of roasts, but it's called actually, the company itself is the Kauai Coffee Company Plantation. They do export some of it, but most of it stays locally here. So that if you go to any grocery stores, they'll have all their coffee on the shelves there for you.
Okay, good.
And just in front of us, we're entering into the Hanapepe Valley next. If you follow that valley in front of us all the way down to our left-hand side, that's the town of Hanapepe and Port Allen. So a lot of the boats that go to the Napali coast will launch right there out of Port Allen. We're actually going to go upstream here in the valley. There's a couple of bigger waterfalls I want to show you. And we do have some wind coming over these ridge lines. So there'll be a few bumps here and there getting into the valley. So that is completely normal and nothing to worry about. I'm going to try to keep it as smooth as I can for you. So the first waterfall we're going to see is called Manawaiapuna, is its Hawaiian name, more commonly referred to as Jurassic Falls. So if you've seen Jurassic Park, when the helicopter lands in front of the big waterfall, that's the same one we're flying to first. There's going to be a few smaller waterfalls on the left and right hand sides the whole way up the valley here. But Manawaiapuna is that biggest one directly ahead, and I'll be doing a few turns so we can all get a good view.
Which company flies that helicopter down there?
That blue one, so this is actually on privately owned land here, so I think there's only 2 helicopters that have special permission to land there at that landing site there. Yeah, these off to our right are called the Kahili Falls, also known as the Five Sister Falls. Anybody seen any dinosaurs running around down there? No? And we'll keep working our way westbound here over the ridgelines and on to the drier side of the island next, and then on to the canyons. And we have Mary Ann and Victor up front. Where are you both visiting from?
Salem, Oregon.
Oregon, very nice. Is this your first time here to Kauai?
Yes, mine.
This is your second time? It's your first or his second, very nice. Any special occasion that brings you here, just visiting?
Just visiting.
Very nice. Hope you're enjoying your trip so far. You're here for a little while?
Yes, 4 days.
Very nice. You should a lot of time to explore a lot of the island. As we're flying around, you'll notice like a lot of the island you can't see unless you're in a helicopter. All this rugged, rough terrain here is pretty much inaccessible otherwise. And we also have Eric and Donna. Where are you both visiting from?
We live in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Wyoming. It was a little bit warmer here than when you left back home.
Less wind for sure.
We actually had a windy week last week, so you guys just missed it. So I'm glad the weather's working out pretty good for you here. Any special occasion that brings you here to Kauai, or just visiting?
Just visiting.
Very nice, a cool place to do it. So I'm from Pennsylvania myself, so I grew up on the East Coast, just went up there for a couple years. Then went to Juneau, Alaska for about a year, flying to the glaciers and the mountains up there. Then came here to Kauai last year, been flying here ever since. So absolutely just a beautiful place to fly here. And in front of us, we're coming up to Olokele Canyon. So that valley we just flew out of, including the waterfalls, and this big valley in front of us here, this is actually all privately owned by the same family. It's all owned by the Robinson family. So they came here from New Zealand originally as the St. Clairs. They changed to the Robinson name through marriage over time. But Elizabeth St. Clair bought the island of Niihau, which is off to our left-hand side there in the distance. You can just see up the shoreline out there on the horizon. That's the island of Niihau. They bought that for about $10,000 in gold from King Kamehameha. And then a few years later, bought all this land we're flying over now. So they own about 55,000 acres here on Kauai alone, and about 46,000 acres on the island of Niihau. So they are the largest private landowners here on Kauai. And most of the land they own is just like this kind of rugged, rough terrain. There's no houses, there's no roads. We're kind of preserving the land the way they found it, and that's the way they prefer to keep it.
Do you know where they made their money?
Their money, I don't know. I think they had this, they had cattle back in New Zealand when they left, and they were actually on their way to California to buy land. So they had money to spend, but they liked it so much here, they ended up staying. So I think they got a good deal on the land. I think when originally they came here, it was mostly just like from raising cattle was their bigger profit maker. So everything just behind us is all privately owned. Everything in front of us is all public access and owned by the state of Hawaii. This is all part of Waimea Canyon. And since it's all public access here in Waimea, there's lots of hiking and backpacking trails throughout the area, especially on top. And the forest area is Kokee State Park. And there's also the Highway 550 that goes the whole way around the upper edge of the canyon. There's a few bigger overlooks along the way that you can stop and get some great views. But definitely recommend driving out here if you get a chance to. This is an absolutely beautiful drive, especially on a nice clear day like today. And there's a few bigger valleys here in Waimea. This first one we're passing on the right-hand side here. This is called Wailai. And you can kind of see in the vertical sections of the rock how all that was formed. There's a layer on top of a layer of magma on top of one another. And you also notice a lot of the dirt here on the side of the hills has that reddish color to it. That has to do with the high iron content of that lava rock, the basalt rock underneath it. So when it reaches the surface, it oxidizes just like rust does and gives it that reddish tint. And when that dirt makes its way into the water below, it turns the water the same reddish color. So Waimea Canyon actually means reddish water canyon. And this big valley we're flying into, this one's called Kauai. And the last big one over the ridgeline is Po'omau. And the volcano had the initial shape of the canyon when it erupted, and then the rivers cut up the valleys as we see them today. Just years and years of erosion. And we'll keep working into the very back of the canyon, and it shows a bigger waterfall I want to show you. So just around the corner here to our right hand side is the biggest waterfall we have in Waimea. This one's called Waipo'o Falls. This is 800 feet from the top to the bottom, and this is the best time of year to visit with all that rainfall we get. It tends to dry up in the summertime with the lack of rainfall. And this one is hikeable. It's just people at the very top there in the dirt area. And Waimea is known as the Grand Canyon of the Pacific. So it's about 14 miles long, about a mile wide, and 3,600 feet deep at its deepest point. It's not quite as big as the one in Arizona, but still pretty impressive considering where we're located. What's that?
How deep did you say?
It's about 3,600 feet deep at its deepest point, so 3,600 feet. So these ridgelines here we'll be flying over top of will be just crossed about 3,500, about 3,600 feet at the tallest point there. And that highway I mentioned earlier is just underneath us. Here's Highway 550.
I've driven it previously and I'm looking forward to it again tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, it's a great drive. I love the drive out here. So if, like from end to end, so if you start in Lahui, it's about an hour and 15 down the road, and the same thing around the other side. It's just a pretty small island, but it's a beautiful drive either way you go. And just in front of us, near the shoreline, is the Barking Sands Naval Base, an active military base next to Holly Beach. And this big forest we're flying over is called the Pu'ukapele Forest Reserve. This is still all public access. Here's lots of hiking and off-roading trails throughout the area. And we also have lots of animals here in the forest. We have some wild pigs, some black-tailed deer, and some mountain goats, all of which were introduced to the island. None of those are native. And we also have lots and lots of chickens, as you probably already noticed. So there's no natural predator here on Kauai. That's why they continue to multiply and become so numerous. And these white dome-shaped buildings in front of us is the NASA tracking facility for the Pacific Missile Range. So that naval base we passed a little bit ago will fire missiles into the water for testing. They'll use that facility to keep track of it, then send a boat out into the water to pick them up when they're done. And NASA also has an observatory. At the very top of that ridgeline, that old white dome-shaped building, is the observatory. And everyone's still doing good? Awesome. Our next ridgeline in front of us, our next stop is the Napali coast. Off to our right hand side, this little beach is called the Hanapu Beach and the Hanapu Sea Arch. So that sea arch is used in quite a few different movies, including Pirates of the Caribbean and also the old James Bond movie. They flew a helicopter right underneath that same archway there. You think we'll fit? Yeah, this this big valley we're flying into now, this is called Hanapool, also known as the Valley of the Kings. So all the chiefs and kings that ruled along the Nepali coast were laid to rest here in the sides of these cliffs in secret caves. And the ancient Hawaiians believed their bones to contain great power, and if that power fell into the wrong hands, it could be used against them. So they had to keep the location of those graves a secret. So if a warrior lowered by a rope from the top of the cliff into the cliff sides below, carrying the bones of that deceased chief, and once he's laying his bones to rest, he would cut his rope, falling to his own death, with the secret of that location dying with him. So this is one of the most sacred places here on the island.
Miles and miles of crystal deep blue seas. Can you smell the flowers? Fill the air with fragrances for free. This is aloha. This is aloha. This is aloha. This land of Hawaii. Have you felt the power? Mountain craters throwing lava in the air, for its green swept beauty. From each island blossom.
And there's a beach off to our front right side. This is called Kauai Beach. That's the final stop for the trail that goes the whole way along the Nepali coast. So that one's 11 miles one way and does require a permit to hike. And that permit allows you to camp out right on the beach down there. And the beach further to our right is the Hanapool beach I mentioned earlier. So that one is only reachable by boat or a very long swim from beach to beach. And in front of us here, these formations, all these ridges and spires, are known as the cathedrals. So this is all from wind and rain erosion over the years.
This is aloha. This land of Hawaii.
And this big valley here to our right hand side, this is called Kalalau. So if you drive to the very end of the road around the canyon, it brings you to an overlook of this same valley right here. Absolutely beautiful view. And there's no longer anyone living here in this valley. 1,000 years ago, about 500 people still living in the Kalalau Valley, or raising cattle just right here.
For its green swept beauty. From each island blossoms everywhere. Have you felt its spirit? Ancient gods, their mana still lives here. Colored rain.
And that Kalalau Trail is actually just to our left hand side, following that coastline the whole way to Kauai Beach. That's 11 miles one way and does require a permit to hike. And the permits go for sale about 3 months in advance and sell out almost immediately, so they're very tough to get a hold of. People come here from all over the world to hike that trail. And this valley in front of us is about a halfway point for all the hikers. So this is called Hanakoa. If you can't make it out to the beach all in one day, you can camp out in this little valley right here. It's one of the approved camping spots.
Of love will lead you here. This is aloha. This is aloha. This is aloha. This land of
And this little cove, a little cutaway to our right hand side. Inside are the Halulu Sea Caves. So the waves are kind of big this time of year still, but in the summer months when it calms down, you get a boat right up into those sea caves there. Actually, it's pretty calm down there today. And this last big valley on our right is called Hanakapiai. There's usually a beach there at the mouth of that valley off to our right, but the waves are so big it washes all that sand away, so all that's left there is some rock and some rubble. On the back of that valley is a waterfall you can hike to without a permit. That one's called Hanakapiai Falls. And all those trails for the Nepali coast begin off to our right-hand side at KA Beach and Hyena State Park. So that's the very end of the road here on the North Shore, and that's where the Nepali coast begins. And that park does require a reservation to get into ahead of time. It gives you access to KA and Hanakapiai beaches there. And we'll come up here a little bit higher, get one last view of the entire Nepali coast, and we'll continue on shore. And we sometimes see whales out here on the Nepali. So they're here from about December until about April, so they're starting to make their way back to southeast Alaska to do all their feeding up there for the summer, so they've begun their migration. We'll be back here next winter to do all their breeding and having the babies here. So they're very, very active when they do show up to the Hawaiian Islands. What's really cool is like when I was flying in Alaska, there's the same humpback whales I saw there that come here in the wintertime. It's kind of cool to follow that migration, but when they're feeding in Alaska, they're very, very lethargic, so not near the activity as we see down here, so it's pretty cool to see. And there's no access roads out here on the Nepali coast. The only way out is by boat, by air, that long hike on the Kauai Trail. Not a bad view, huh? It's okay.
Words are insufficient.
What's that?
Words are insufficient.
I agree with that. And the next big beach area to our right-hand side, this is called Tunnels Beach. That's one of our nicer beaches here on the North Shore, and all those waves that are crashing offshore, that's the reef it's hitting there. And the reef is one of the prettiest places to snorkel on the island. It's pretty well protected near the beach. If you go too far out, the waves can get kind of big, kind of rough. You gotta be very careful, but a very beautiful place to visit. And the closer and closer we get to summer, that water keeps on turning this like turquoisey blue and green. And then just after the reef there, that's the Hyena Beach Park, and all those homes down there are part of the little town of Hyena. And then in front of us is the big Princeville area of all the homes and the big green golf course there. And then just to the right side of Princeville, that's the big Honolulu Bay area we're heading towards next. And it's the smaller beach of Waniha off to our right. We'll be crossing over the bigger one of Lumahai straight ahead. And if you've seen the old musical South Pacific, a lot of that movie was filmed right there on Lumahai Beach.
Must be Valley High right here. Or something.
Yep. So this is the actual name of this one is called the Lumahai Valley, but it is Valley High, right?
The music from South Pacific.
And have you heard of the song Puff the Magic Dragon? So that's actually believed to be based on this town. So in the song it's Honolulu. This is the town of Honolulu. And this originally we're flying over top of right now, they call this the Dragon Rock. So if you stand on the beach in Honolulu, it looks like a big dragon laying down here. So we're flying over the back of the dragon right now. So the Puff the Magic Dragon song was from this area right here too. And Honolulu is actually just off our left-hand side, so it's one of my favorite places to hang out here on the North Shore. A lot of good restaurants and shops there. And all those square ponds and fields you see the whole way around Honolulu, those are all taro fields. That's like a root vegetable they use to make into what's called poi. Have you tried poi yet? Push it up a little harder there at the top. There you go. I didn't quite make that out. Yeah, a lot of people aren't a big fan of poi. I think it's like consistency, I think, but taro chips and bread are pretty good too. But to each their own. And we're now on the windward side of the island here. So you get a lot more wind, rain, and weather on this side of the island. That's why I mean a lot more green, more trees, and foliage, as you might notice. And with all that extra rainfall, we see a lot more waterfalls as well. So we'll continue in just around the corner. Here's a bigger one I want to show you. So just around the corner, this bigger mountain in front of us going into the clouds is called Namalokama. It's about 4,000 feet to the very top. And that waterfall coming down the center of it is about 2,300 feet, one of the bigger ones here on the island.
What a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, singing, how do you do? They really say, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn more, then we'll know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like a lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you'll find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
And this is the Honolulu Valley we're entering into now. It's the same river in the middle that goes out into the bay we just saw a little bit ago. We'll follow that upstream to the very back of the valley. And the whole way on the left and right hand sides of that is the valley. So all these small waterfalls will pop up all over the place. These come and go with the rainfall. So all that rain we've had the past couple of days restocked a lot of these waterfalls. So if we go a day or two without any rain, they'll kind of disappear, then come back with the next big storm. And there's no roads, no houses back here in the Honolulu Valley, so access is very limited due to how dense the jungle is down there. So even the sides of the hills look like a moss from the air. There's actually 30 and 40 foot ohia trees and like 10 foot ferns. It's very, very dense jungle down there. So the only way back here in the valley is pretty much by helicopter to drop you off, or a very long hike up the winding river. And in the very back of this valley, that mountain disappearing up into the clouds is the second tallest peak here on the island, is Mount Waialeale. It's also the wettest spot here. It's about 450 inches of rainfall every single year. So all that rain comes down to waterfalls, kind of cascaded the whole way along the valley walls here. So that makes Waialeale the second wettest place in the world.
Is there any wildlife?
Yep, so we have a lot of wild pigs here, some black-tailed deer, and also some mountain goats throughout the area.
Have you seen the mountain goats or deer as you were flying?
So not from flying, they're pretty small to see from the air, but when I'm hiking, I do see a lot of mountain goats and some wild pigs. The deer are probably the hardest thing to see. They're probably the most skittish, so those are probably the hardest ones to find. And off to our right hand side, these two waterfalls right next to each other are called Twin Falls. We call that the gun sight. Choo!
How much fuel will we use on this trip?
How much fuel? About 50 gallons per hour, so probably like 40 couple gallons we use on the trip. And Waialeale is also the extinct volcano that formed the island of Kauai. So all the big volcanoes that form the Hawaiian island chain are all shield volcanoes. So a shield volcano has walls on three sides and a big opening out the front where all the lava came out. So what's left behind is a big crater. So in front of us is what's left of that extinct volcano and the Waialeale crater. And the very bottom left portion is known as the Weeping Wall, all those smaller waterfalls joining on one another.
Saw everything. How would they feel about the changes of our land? Could you just imagine if they were around and saw highways on the sacred grounds? How would they feel about this modern city life? Tears would come from each other's eyes as they would start to realize that our people are in great, great danger now.
beautiful, isn't it?
How would they feel about this modern city life? Tears would come from each other's eyes, and they would start to realize that our land is in great, great danger now.
And on this side of the island, you see a lot more of these bigger flat-top trees are flying over with the big canopies. Those are the African albizia trees. So these are actually brought over in the early 1900s, so they're not native to the island. And they spread all on their own, one of the fastest growing trees. So they've taken over a lot of the islands. They've been labeled as invasive. There's actually been some efforts to get rid of them, but they still continue to grow and spread all over the island. So one of those big efforts is just in front of us. That big clearing used to be all albizia trees. So they're chopping those down and processing it in the same power plant I mentioned earlier on the tour. So even though they're not good for our ecosystem, they are helping in the energy production here on the island. But they are pretty cool to look at. And that mountain range on our right hand side, that's the Hau'upu mountain range where we first started our tour. So we just did a full loop of the entire island. We're kind of back in the middle right now by Waialeale. So off to our left hand side is our bigger residential areas of Wailua and Kapa'a at the base of the sleeping giant mountain there. So only about 70,000 people here on Kauai compared to almost 1 million people on Oahu. So it's definitely more of a smaller, more laid back island, which I prefer. And then just in front of us is the Lahue and the airport area.
To find a place that's better still. Now I know I never will. Hele on to Kauai, Hanalei by the bay. Wailua River Valley is where I used to play. The canyons of Waimea, standing all alone. The magic of the garden now calling me back home. Helio to Kauai, Hanalei by the bay. Wailua River Valley is where I used to play. Canyons of...
And we're trying to make our way back into the airport area now, so I'll be a little busy talking with the towers. So I just want to thank you guys for flying into Lufa One today. Hope you had a good time, a good flight. Got to see a cool side of Kauai from the air. And we appreciate your feedback, so feel free to leave a review. If you had a good flight, my name's Isaiah. If you didn't have a good flight, my name's Bob.
Well done.
Thanks, Isaiah. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely glad you all enjoyed.
You could be sad, but I'd rather you not be. Don't dwell on the negative, just the positivity. And it's a beautiful day. It's just a beautiful day.
Does it have to answer?
These wants and needs. Take you some time for that inner peace. When your eyes are open, you see things differently. There's so much gloom hiding the reality. It's just a beautiful day. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. Yeah, take a look into the sky. Take a look into the sky. Keep your head up high. Take a look into the sky. I take a look into the sky. Cause the world is not so pretty. Free myself from worries so I can see it's just a beautiful day. It's just a beautiful day. I could be sad, but you'd rather me not be. Don't dwell on the negative, just the positivity. And it's a beautiful day. And it's a beautiful day. We're always trying to satisfy these wants and needs. into the sky. Keep your head up high. Take a look into the sky. It's just a beautiful